Creatures of the Night, Pod Street Crew, PSK out there. Alex Dorio, one half of the Talking Taker podcast here, going live on YouTube because I am excited. Just got these in earlier today. I feel like I'm the last person on earth to get these. It's the new WWE Mattel Retro 4-pack featuring The Undertaker. And, of course, he's had many Hasbro retro-style figures, but the big deal for me, in my opinion, is getting the first ever retro-style Paul Bearer figure. A guy that absolutely should have been in the Hasbro line. Of course, there were no managers or commentators or anybody outside the ring in that line, but Paul Bearer, if anybody deserved one, he definitely deserved one. So I'm excited about this. Cool thing about this pack is it just went live on Mattel Creations last week. And, man, I got my shipping notification that night, I believe. It was either that night or the next morning. I already got the shipping notification. I believe the order day was Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. And mine said they were supposed to arrive on Thursday, which is awesome. I mean, that is how toy companies should do it. You know, I know not every company can be Mattel, but I know a lot of these independent toy companies, you know, they'll give you a preview of a figure, show you pictures, and then 6 months later, they'll do the pre-release. And then sometimes the figure doesn't come out for 6 months or a year or over a year for some of these companies. And every company can't be Mattel. They don't have the same resources. But the fact that these dropped and were shipping, you know, that same week is incredible. Of course, mine actually took a week to get here. I don't know what happened. Like I said, it said it was going to arrive on Thursday. And then the date just kept getting pushed back Friday, Saturday, over the weekend. It looked like it was lost. It wasn't showing up anywhere. But finally, they arrived today. I know a lot of other PSK members, listeners of the podcast, they have already got those. So I feel like I'm way behind. So that's why I wanted to just jump on here live and just go ahead and open these up because I am itchy for them. I'm ready to put them in my collection. I don't know if you can see. I'll try to do this without dropping the camera, but way up there. Nope. Even higher up there. I do have a little miniature Hasbro and retro collection. Of course, they were the first wrestling figures I ever played with growing up, but they were never my favorite figures, the retros, the Hasbros. I've said this on the Talking Taker podcast and on this YouTube channel. They just did not have enough playability for me. Of course, I was a huge wrestling fan. I loved the ring, and I loved having wrestling matches with my figures. But the Hasbros themselves were so limited in their posability, points of articulation, things you could do. And even as a 5, 6, 7-year-old, I thought about that sort of stuff. And so that's why my Fig Fed, mainly, I would incorporate a few of the Hasbros, but mainly I used like Ninja Turtles, X-Men, Power Rangers. The Green Power Ranger was a top guy in my Fig Fed. Feuded with the Batman and Bruce Wayne. My Fig Fed was a hodgepodge. Of course, I had a few Hasbros and I would work them in. You know, I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan. Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. I would work those guys in. And randomly, the Bushwhackers. I had the Bushwhacker figures. I would work those guys in. And there were certain Hasbros that were better than others, but for the most part, I wasn't really that into them. As an adult, I think they're fantastic. They're nostalgic. They look incredible on display, and obviously, I mean, so many people have so much nostalgia for them. So I'm a big fan of collecting them, and I'm glad that these came out. So let's get to it. Let's open it up. I have cracked the box open, but I have not opened the official container on here. Of course, the retros, they weren't a bomb in stores, 4 or 5 years ago when they were first coming out. But Mattel kind of discontinued the line. As the Major Pod Boys say, that they put it on ice for a little while. It was not really lighting up the charts in store. I remember getting a lot of those at Five Below. They would be put on clearance. So I got like Gold Dust, Kurt Angle, guys like that. Those original retros at Five Below, and now some of those go for like $20 or $30 on the aftermarket. I wish I had bought more. I remember those New Days I saw at Five Below. Cena's I would see at Five Below and guys like that, and some of those I just didn't get. But Got the Zack Ryder and the Iron Sheik at Five Below, stuff like that. Wish I had gotten more of those. And then, you know, they put them on ice for a little while, and then the demand came back. A lot of the independent toy companies like Zombie Sailor and people like that started doing them, and so Mattel got back in the game. Of course, they are online only now. They don't sell them in stores, and they've been releasing them in these 4-packs. So you can't even buy them individually. You got to get them in the 4-pack. And they've been themed, you know, which is a cool way to do it. I think it's probably the best way to do it so they don't clog up the shelves. It's not really a kid's product. It's definitely an adult collectible. Kids today, especially, you know, if I was a 5 or 6-year-old, you know, 30 years ago, didn't want to play with like limited posability figures. Definitely kids today don't want that. They want elites and they want ultimates, things like that. They don't have nostalgia for these things. So it's much better to do it online. And this is the latest release. And I guess the theme is just kind of like new generation WWF. There's not really a clear theme. Obviously, Taker and Paul Bearer go together. But then you got Vader, who, to me, I'm excited to have it. He's an opponent of Undertaker. One of just my favorite big men wrestlers of all time is Vader. I think he's a little bit outside of the range of retro Hasbro style. Of course, nowadays you can make everybody. They make Attitude Era ones. They make modern day ones. But to me, like, you could totally see a Phantom Undertaker or a Paul Bearer getting a Mattel getting a Hasbro if the line would have extended. I don't know if Vader would have. I guess he debuted in early '96. So there probably would have been 2 or 3, 4 maybe more series of Hasbros would have had to continue on for Vader to get a figure. So that one's a little bit iffy for me. But of course, Taker, Bearer needed one. Jerry the King Lawler needed one, man. He debuted in '92, into '92, early '93. And I mean, he was just a staple of the mid '90s, staple of just WWF, you know, for still to this day. You know, he came out on Raw a couple weeks ago, you know, in the commercial break after his heart attack. You know, we wish you well, King. Or was it a heart attack this time? I know he was having some health issues. He had the heart attack famously on Monday Night Raw. But, I mean, he definitely, you could have totally seen him getting a Hasbro. So it's cool to see him get this retro. Great packaging here. It does remind you, you know, a little bit of the original style, but it's nothing special, nothing fancy. Just keeping everything safe in there. Let's rip this tape off. And if you're watching this, you know, leave a comment. Let me know. Let me know if you bought this 4-pack. I think they're actually still available on there, so not an instant sellout by any means. Let me know what you think of them. All right, so there's the inside. Everybody's packed in there. I got them kind of like intertwined in there to save space. And right here in the back. Oh, interesting. Okay, so got me a little worried there. This is actually the new packaging for the retros, so they're sort of like resealable. Standard retro Hasbro style. Just have the plastic right here. Pop that off real easily. But now, like I said, this scared me a little bit here. They're in this, oh my goodness, resealable packaging. So here's Taker right here. We'll get to him first. And you can just slide the card back in there. It's not traditional, and I know a lot of people online and on, you know, on the Major Pod Facebook group and on the podcast themselves, they don't like this. I don't have an issue with it. Like, I think it's cool. I think it's almost the way to go because you can, you know, easily get this signed and reseal it. You can put it on display, mint. You could take it out and play with it. I don't have a problem with it. Like, it's not traditional, but it's okay. Again, definitely a nod, of course, to the original Hasbro style with the guy's big picture right here. And this would be the Undertaker's 5th retro style figure. He had 3 Hasbros, the original one, the second one with the jacket, the entrance duster, and a little bit different hair color, and then the mail away, which again was a slightly different hair color, but basically the same figure. And then he had the retro in the purple gloves, and this is basically the same figure but just, with that infamous phantom mask that he wore late 95, early 1996. Got his face squashed by Mabel. What is his move here? He's got the dead man drop. I don't know why I just didn't put tombstone there. I mean, you could easily do the tombstone with this figure, so that's a little extra there. And the great thing about the Mattel retros that really nobody else in the retro business does anymore, they still have the moves. And that's why I still think the Mattel retros are great. A lot of people are kind of, a little down on them. There wasn't as much excitement about these, but I love that they still did the move. Basically, you could almost do a tombstone here, or you could, move one arm around and do a choke slam or something like that. So that's what makes this Taker great. Take a look at that mask, and then the eyes rolled back. That is a nice touch. I don't think I had realized that. So that really ups it, takes it up for me. He's got the long, dark black hair, which is absolutely, spot on for this era. Kind of a great likeness on here. With the tie, much like the Hasbro had. No hat on here. The other recent retro does not have the hat, even though the Hasbros do. That's fine. I'm cool with it. Would have been cool to have a jacket, maybe a removable hat, but that's okay. It's a re-release, but it's such a significant moment in Taker's career, such a significant, memorable look that fits in the realm of the Hasbros. I think it's totally cool. And of course, it works since you're getting the Paul Bearer in here as well. It's got the card on there, much like the original Hasbros had, and the new guys on the back. How you do the move. The dead man drops his rivals into the dirt. Great. Love it. Happy with it. Let's see if I could prop these up a little bit more while we're doing them. There we go. There he is. Undertaker retro. I'll reveal this, a little shameful here for my collection. I have the original Hasbro, his rookie figure. I got that one last year. I actually didn't have that one growing up, but I did purchase one in pretty nice condition. I still need the second Hasbro with the entrance jacket. I will probably never get the mail away. That's just out of my price range, and I'm not a completist, so I don't need that. But I feel like I need the other one. I'd love to have a Hasbro Mint on card. They're not crazy expensive. Especially, I could get one in a foreign card. I would be fine with that. But I would love to pick up one of those. And I don't actually have the first retro. I wasn't collecting then, and I haven't gone back and gotten one of those yet. I definitely need to add the first retro to my collection. All right, who's next in the box? I already pulled him out. Let's do this one. The Vader. Like I said, I wasn't as excited about this one, but it's a cool figure nonetheless. Man, it looks great. His action is the Vaderizer. What the heck is the Vaderizer? Just put Vader Bomb. I know the Hasbros had silly names, but I feel like sometimes they had the real names. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. Just put Vader Bomb. You don't have to say the Vaderizer. Let's get him out here. Kind of a unique body mold. Could be wrong. I don't have all of the retros. So maybe tell me if I'm wrong, if this is a different body mold. I don't remember one having this big torso. And okay, I guess it's kind of similar maybe to like Earthquake had back in the day. So you can kind of fling him back and he Vaderizes you. He just bounces into you, which is definitely something Vader would do back in the day. He just he'd whip you into the ropes and just kind of like, boom, bounce into you. And man, he's like running into a brick wall. There's a great Twitter account. I will not call it by its other name. It will always be Twitter to me. This is a great account called WCW Deep Cuts on there. Highly encourage everybody to go follow that. They post a lot of great Vader short videos and GIFs on there. A lot of him just trucking into people, clotheslining them, choke slamming them. I wasn't so excited about this one, but this is great. Look at that likeness. That's a great face on there. The body is real bulky and big. This is what a Vader Hasbro absolutely would have been like, man. I dig it. This is going to look cool on display. I won't pose him with the opponents. I'll just put him in the miscellaneous Hasbro and retro shelf that I've got up top. I will say The gear is not totally accurate, especially I've been watching a lot of 96 superstars on Peacock lately, and if they really wanted to make this accurate, they would have put the Vader time on the back here, because Vader like wore his gear backwards a lot, especially in that early WWF run. I don't know if he's just trying to have a different look or if he literally put it on the wrong way and just said, "Screw it, I'm going out there like that." I kind of almost think that it's too late, man. I don't want to change it. But that would have been funny if they would have actually made the retro that way. I wouldn't mind that. It'd be funny to see somebody do a custom one like that. But this is cool. Certainly an opponent of the Undertaker. It fits in an Undertaker opponent or rivals collection. Faced him at Royal Rumble 97 and Canadian Stampede 1997. That was one of those rare matches that Travis and I were a little bit divided on during the podcast. Of course, you can go through our YouTube channel and check out the archives. But yeah, I liked those matches a little bit more than Travis did, especially that Canadian Stampede match. I thought was like really, really fun. And that's a great pay-per-view, great crowd environment there. Go check those out if you haven't watched those. These guys had really good chemistry together. Some of Vader's better WWF matches. All right, let's see who's next. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Excited about this one. The King, Jerry Lawler. Like I said, a guy who needed a Hasbro. And, you know, I've been saying they didn't make managers, they didn't make outside characters, commentators, or anything like that. But the King was a wrestler, too. He was an announcer, but he was on the big shows, on the pay-per-views. SummerSlam 93 versus Bret Hart. One of my favorite matches of all time. Just the whole presentation of it, the whole angle, the whole storyline is just... it is iconic, legendary, one of my favorite things to go back and watch. And the King is just, he's one of my favorite performers of all time. He's on my Mount Rushmore. He's in my top 5 of all time. Top 4, I guess, if he's on my Mount Rushmore. But I just, the older I've gotten, the more I appreciate Jerry the King Lawler as a professional wrestler, because he did so much with so little. There was no wasted movement, no wasted motion, and he didn't have to do any crazy bumps. He didn't have to do any crazy spots. He was just a masterful storyteller and just such an iconic performer on the microphone as well. He just adds so much to the commentary booth. But even before that, when you really go back and watch him before that, you can appreciate that as well. And was able to do what he did long into his 40s, 50s, and 60s because of how he took care of his body and how he never wasted any of his movements and motions or anything like that. So this is great. This is like that pretty iconic 93, 94 look for the King here. What's his move? The Crown Pound. That one I'm okay with, because, you know, the Hasbros, they never put like generic names for the moves on there. They wouldn't say pile driver or fist drop or something like that. So Crown Pound, I'm okay with that for the King. They got his card on the back. The King challenged Bret Hart to prove who was the real King of the Ring, of course. Like I said, iconic. One of my favorites there. Right. I love it. I have the Elite. That's kind of in the matching gear for this. It's one of my favorite Elites that's come out recently. And look at that. That's interesting. I haven't really seen that on the retros. You can... There is a... Looks like there's a joint there at the knee. It's pretty stiff, so it moves a little bit, and it looks like you'd be able to pose it a little bit more. I don't really see what the point of that is if you can't move it around, but mine, I don't want to mess with it too much. But you can see the detail on the tights, and just so loud and obnoxious. And he's got the old Jake the Snake. Jake the Snake, Ted DiBiase had this. A lot of Hasbros had the spring-loaded punch, but Jake the Snake was one I had, and that was a Hasbro that I used a lot. I think that's just an iconic Hasbro. It's one of the best of all time. And the King had some of the greatest punches of all time. He doesn't have like a pile driver motion, but you talk about working punches, the King's got one of the best, so this works for him. Look at that. That looks like the King. And I don't know, maybe this is a little controversial or divided, but crown not removable, I think that's exactly what it should be, because I don't think any of the other Hasbros had a removable. Well, I take that back. A couple of them did. Most of them did not. I know the Bushwhackers, the second Bushwhackers, had removable hats, and like Demolition had the removable masks. So I guess it's on the fence whether he would have a removable crown. Back then, Macho King had the removable crown. But to me, when I think of a Hasbro, I think of Undertaker, who did not have a removable hat. I think of Berserker, who had the big helmet with the Viking horns on there. I think of Skinner, who had his hat on. And I think the King, I think it makes sense for the King to have his crown. You picture King with his crown on. You're still going to wrestle and use him in your Fig Fed with the crown on. I don't have a problem with him having the crown on. I think it's a... I would put the crown on him. I would mold it on there. So no problems with that it's removable. Okay, and my main event, in my opinion, the reason to get this, this was, pretty affordable. I think $70 after tax and shipping and everything. So that's comes out to what? Do some math here. About $17.50 per figure. Not bad. Not bad. It should include shipping and everything like that. Paul Bearer. His first ever retro style figure with the Cremation Crush. That's the best move name out of any of these guys. Because Paul Bearer didn't wrestle. He didn't have a finisher, so you got to make something up. And the Cremation Crush, I mean, whoever came up with that, kudos, you deserve a raise. You deserve a little bonus for coming up with that. That's amazing. I believe he had one official WWE match. We did a great episode back in February, Travis and I, the life and times of Paul Bearer. We charted his entire career in professional wrestling from Percy Pringle III through his many runs as Paul Bearer, the many guys he managed besides The Undertaker, all the way to his many returns throughout the years, some of his indie appearances, like in TNA or managing a young LA Knight later on in his career. A lot of cool stuff. Great episode to listen to. We are huge Paul Bearer fans here on this channel and on this podcast. But he had one match against The Big Show in 1999. There's a little trivia question. And he actually didn't do anything. He basically was forced into it, and Big Show choked him and then walked away from the match. I guess it's kind of a no contest. So he didn't actually lose to Big Show there. But yeah, he didn't really take many bumps or work any during his time in the WWF. He definitely did as Percy Pringle a little bit, but not as Paul Bearer. So the Cremation Crutch, totally made up, but that's cool. It says on there, you pull back his arms and you cremate people with the urn. That would be very intense if you were to cremate someone with an urn. Smash them into dust and into bones. That's pretty brutal right there. His card says, as keeper of the urn, Paul Bearer is the guardian of the Undertaker's power. All right. And the cool thing about these newer retro drops that Mattel has been doing is they have given us the managers. They've given us the side characters. We got a Jimmy Hart, which was needed. And this is actually, is it the Jimmy Hart body? I thought it was. But it looks like this jacket, maybe he's got a little bit of a gut in there. So it's made I think it's the same arms and the same legs and everything as the Jimmy Hart and the Mean Gene, which I recently acquired. But they got something in there kind of like pushing the jacket and the shirt up, because Paul Bearer, he was not a skinny man, to say the least. Maybe in those early days, like 90, 91, 92, he was a little bit more svelte. But he definitely had a little girth to him. So, and this one does. So I didn't realize that. I wasn't sure if it was going to have that. Great face. I mean, that's probably like 95 Paul Bearer to go along with this Undertaker right here. And there's his move, sort of similar to Undertaker's, just kind of snapping arm motion. That's fine. It's not about the move for what Paul Bearer can do. The highlight here is the urn that can fit in his hands. Come on. That is fantastic. The Undertaker Hasbro original, you couldn't fit an urn in his hand. He couldn't carry that. But the Mattel Retro, it does have the urn that Paul Bearer can hold. The Jakks Paul Bearer and the Buried Alive set came with an urn. Hand was not molded to carry the urn. That bugged me so much as a kid. But Mattel has righted that wrong. And he's got the urn that he can carry along. I did hear on the recent episode that they were actually critiquing this because this is not an era appropriate urn. This is a like a 2004 to 2010 urn. You can tell by those lines on there, that design on there. That's not the urn that he would have carried around during this time. Whatever. It's obviously Mattel reusing one. I would have even thought about that until I heard them say that. I do see it now, but that doesn't bother me. It's not going to bug me. And just the fact that we finally got a pallbearer that can stand next to a retro Undertaker is a dream come true for a retro collector here. So there it is, the new wave of retros. You got the King, you got Vader, you got the Undertaker, you got pallbearer. The King, of course, Undertaker opponent, faced him at Survivor Series 1995, led a whole Survivor Series team against him. Also had a great casket match on him that's on a Coliseum video that we talked about before. Let me know in the comments. Let me know, did you pick these up as well? What do you think of them? Are you excited to add these to your collection? If you could, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And check out our podcast episodes. Check out our past unboxings on here. Check out the latest episode of Talking Taker right here on YouTube, or if you prefer to listen to it, you can always do that on Spotify or Apple Podcast as well. Check it out. We'll have it. It's been recorded. I just have not had a chance to upload it yet. I do have a review coming of the new Undertaker and Gobbledygooker Survivor Series 1990 set. That should be up any day now. So check that out as well. And until next time, take her easy.